the current administration has decided to call for an extraordinary Congress. And this extraordinary Congress is where they will certify who are going to vote in the upcoming Sierra Leone Athletics Association elections that will be in 2019, and also to kind of amend the constitution that's been in place for the longest. And so this is the situation at hand. I don't want to. What I'll say. Be overarching in this conversation. I want to let the other folks come into this conversation. So what I'll do is I want them to give you their understanding. I want them to give you an inkling of what they know Sierra Leone athletics to be like over the years. So what the question I want to ask is, what do you guys remember of Sierra Leone athletics? I know it's kind of a broad question, but what do you remember? What is it that sticks out to you that makes you feel the nostalgia for you to want to bring back those old days? Mr. Daniel Oldfield, let me start with you. What do you remember about Sierra Leone athletics?
Thank you very much, Leslie. You know, being among you guys just goes back good memories of the days when I was PRO for a long time, during the time of late, in blessed memory, late Brad Benkakuka, and then Emeka Kama, Secretary General, and a lot of other guys who were together trying to do what we could do. And then before that, even way before that, I was with the couple newspapers and the SLBS, when guys like Aoun Koji and all of these other guys sitting there, when they were participating for Sierra Leone, they brought love and happiness to sports. I could remember very well the boxing day sports. People are looking forward to boxing day sports. The university athletics, the schools, you know, all of a sudden, all of that went down the drains. So before I came to Canada, I came to Canada with an athletics team, and then from that point, I went back in 2011. When I went in 2011, things weren't good at all. Things started going down. So quite recently, when I heard from you, because we started hearing on papers, infighting at some point, they went for some Congress which was annulled at the presidential. There was even the police had to come in. So when I heard from you, Mr. Leslie, that you guys had brought some semblance of understanding, I felt so good. But for me to hear what is going on now, it's a shame. If football is going down the drains, football is in tatters. I'm watching now the African AFCON competitions going on right in front of my face, and then athletics was something which we are looking forward to. With the guys of Monipe Juna, Aoun Koji, Salusitu, and all of you guys, now look at what we're going through. It's sad. I'm lost for words. I don't even know what to say. Trust me, I really don't know. If I want to ask, why extraordinary Congress? Why? I don't know.
That's the question.
You know more than me now. Why extraordinary? Because I know for sure at that time, the executive serves for 2 terms or 4 years, 2 4-year terms. That's it. How would you want to go for a 3rd term? It's not in the Constitution. I was privy to the Constitution at that time.
Okay.
So I don't know why the extraordinary. Why? I mean, I just want to know why.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Oldfield. We'll answer that question as we go along. I think we'll all collectively make our inputs on that. Mr. Modipe Jr., you were one of those first brought honor and respect to Sierra Leone with your bronze medal in Kuwait in those years, and that made headlines in Sierra Leone and around the world. I would like to get your feel for why. You know, what you felt that made you feel so much about Sierra Leone athletics in those years. What's your take?
Thank you for bringing us together. Athletics, sports in general in Sierra Leone has always been underfunded, and pretty much sports cannot live and thrive without funding, and the sports has never generated enough money to support the athletes or to support the sports. However, it has become worse, where now we have people coming into the sport and then they have no intention to help the sport or help the athletes. The money for the sports generates no money by itself, even though there's a potential to do so. The money from the government is limited because the government itself has other priorities. So the only source of funding is what the international bodies donate or give to our organizations. Now, this funding even though it's supposed to be for the sports and athletes, it is totally dominated by a few people who personally use these funds for their own good. Now, this has become worse. Sierra Leone, we have been through the war, we have been through Ebola, and we had a few companies in the country which, iron ore, mineral companies, and many of them had to leave because the price of iron over the world dropped, and it caused some companies to go out of business, and that affected Sierra Leone badly. We've had our mudslides. Sierra Leone has been through a lot, such that it's made it hard for sports to be a priority. However, now we have people in sports who have no concern for the athletes or the sports. And right now, we have to find out who are the people who care about the sports and athletes. And until, we cannot continue forward with people who do not care for the sports and athletes.
Okay, all right. That's a good take, and we definitely, that's a good background. That's a good backdrop to the issue or situation pertaining to the sustenance of sports in Sierra Leone. And I know you didn't touch on Sierra Leone athletics and where it was and what it used to be and how it is now. But let me go on to Mr. Arun Koji, who's a household name in Sierra Leone in terms of athletics. And for those who remember athletics who are now scattered around the world in different parts of the diaspora, they know this name and they know this voice. Mr. Arun Koji, Sierra Leone athletics. What do you remember, and why do we feel so passionate about trying to reclaim those glory days?
Good evening again, Mr. Kuruma, and thank you again for having me on the program. When you ask me this question, I'm almost in tears. My memories of Sierra Leone athletics is fun. I had so much fun, during those days. Forget the medals or the glories, but it was fun. You just get up in the morning, you want to run. Have fun, just go out there. Maybe if it's soccer, go out there, play barefooted. If it's whatever sport you do, the fun part of it. I mean, I remember when I came onto the scene, as an unknown, I had so much fun, just getting at the stadium, running, waving to people cheering your name. That was what, enticed people like us into the sport. And then obviously, when you enjoy it that much, you tend to pay more attention to it, and then you think, oh, okay, I can make a career out of this. So that is, in my situation, that's exactly what happened, I didn't go there because I didn't go into track and field or athletics because I wanted to come to overseas. No, I went there because I knew I had the potential to have fun. And I had so much, like I said, I cannot stress this enough. But over the years, Mr. Kroma, the fun part of it has been long time extracted from the sport. And all people see now is people get into the sport for an ulterior motive, which is making themselves rich. And then no developmental program to see, the talent, to expose the talent that we've got in the country. So I am so disappointed because the people now that are leading the sport have no clue as to what sports is about or athletics is about. So this is what has got us into where we are today, Mr. Kuma.
Okay. All right. So great background too there. And the most important thing is we're all looking at one thing here, and that's the future of the sports of athletics as a discipline, and future of sports in Sierra Leone as a whole. And this is serious because obviously my thing all over, and once again for me, usually when I address these issues, is what happens to the younger generation, what happens to the next generation coming up, what are their chances? What are their chances? Because we know in Africa and in a lot of marginalized communities around the world, people that are coming from poor backgrounds have little to in terms of access to developing themselves and making their lives better in the future. The only avenues they usually have is education and sports. Okay, so we know education is it's widely available. In sports, yes, it's there, but if you don't have the ones that will help you to facilitate your career and move it to the next level, guess what happens? Your dreams die a natural death. They die a natural death, you know? And so we're in a country where that's been going through a lot, definitely, like Modupe said, and like everybody here has said, Mr. Oldfield and yourself, Arun Koji, have said. And because of these ups and downs that we've experienced as a nation, there are only few avenues that can allow young men and women to actually make something out of themselves, and it's sports. And if unfortunately we have the wrong people in the wrong place who are men in these positions now, and they don't look out for the interests of this younger generation, and instead they abuse their position in kind of a play on the wrong side of what I call the wrong side of history by exploiting the younger girls in asking for bribes or even sexual favors from these young girls and stuff. I mean, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. So, but I'm not going to delve on that right now because basically what I want to talk about is what's the way forward, because we know we're in a situation, we're in a problem situation. How do we clean up athletics and move forward? And Mr. Olfi, you said something about the Constitution, 2 terms,
yes,
and that's
please.
it.
Yes, please.
So
that's what I used to know.
Yes, and it's stated in the Constitution because we've all seen it now. We've all seen it clear as day. That's in the Constitution. So in your mind, what's the next phase? What's the next stage for athletics in Sierra Leone? Well, there's an election. We're supposed to have an elective Congress next year, 2019. That's in the rule book. What is the way forward as far as you see it?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
You know, the problem I'm seeing here is when you told me the other day, about how you guys yourself, I think Arun Koji and a few other set-minded folks to clean up or to come in to safeguard the interests of the sport, I was so thrilled, I was so pleased. But then you begin to hear a guy who is, I'm not going to call names, a guy, how would athletics be clean? When I was in charge of sports at the SLBS, he was just somebody who I call to cover an area competition, be it athletics or stuff. He comes there only as we invite him to come there. Now, that particular individual are those who, he is, you call chef de mission, he is the one. They are the ones who own athletics, going all over the world. So why did he study athletics? Why did he study about athletics? Why did he study about sports? For him to hold such an enviable position. One of you guys, yourself, Arun Koji, Mr. Juna, you are the ones who should be in such positions. We have guys in the National Sports Council. This guys, I think he's one of those who survived that. These guys, you guys studied sports. You've been in sports. But now you have misfits in society who are there because of political appointments for the wrong reasons. You can appoint somebody politically, but the person should have the knowledge of what he or she is doing. But now a situation where people come from nowhere, square pegs in round holes, that's a hoax. I don't know where we're going for, where we're heading to. Trust me, because athletics, I was looking forward that since football is in this dire state, athletics will sort of correct the wrongs in sports. Now look at where we're heading. Until Mr. Kuma and my friends here, until we clean the house, like the ones now heading the association, I don't know them. I don't need to know them, but I don't think these are the right guys. Why would you want to, after 2 terms, you want to go for a 3rd term? Why? It's not stipulated in the Constitution. So until these situations are addressed, in the first place, this extraordinary thing shouldn't be allowed to go on. Honestly.